In 1997, Apple launched a 1 minute ad campaign that turned the company around. It was struggling, it was on the brink of bankruptcy, and when Steve Jobs finally came back, he made this new ad campaign that worked wonders. And you want to know what the best part is? In that ad campaign, they didn't even talk about a single product. It was the Think Different ad that we've all seen. It talked about a simple yet powerful truth that the best humans, the people who change the world, who make it move forward, are the ones who think different, and they align that concept with Apple. That if you want to be someone who thinks different, you will buy an Apple product, and that completely changed the company's trajectory. I'm not talking about the campaign today because of how good of an ad it was, but because of the simple human truth that it points us towards. The fact that all of us want to think different, we want to contribute to the world, we want our work to be something of meaning and something that pushes the world forward. But a lot of times we don't have that courage and ability to take action and to take those risks that actually help us think different and do new things. And that is what I want to talk about today, that how can you, no matter where you are, no matter what job you do, no matter what career you're pursuing, how can you fulfill this innate desire for thinking different and for actually creating something of meaning and value? And the answer lies in just one simple word: curiosity. We're all naturally curious. You go out and look at any young child, a 1 year old, a 2 year old, a 3 year old, and you'll see a look of wonder in their eyes, a look of awe. And as soon as the child begins to talk, you know what happens. Endless questions that never stop. They look at the world, they come up with a question, and without a moment's hesitation, they ask that question. They are curious, they want to understand the world, they want to understand why things are the way they are. And sometimes it may seem childish, but sometimes those questions are really powerful ones too. There are obvious things that we even don't notice as adults, and that is why curiosity is an important force. But what happens? We go through school, we go through life, and we learn manners. We are taught how to behave, we are taught how to think, we are taught how to be a polite person, and in all of that, we learn one rule very clearly. Don't ask unnecessary questions. Just follow authority, stick to what people are saying, and respect people at the top. Well, guess what? Respecting and following authority and doing things in the right way are all great traits, but that does not mean you cannot ask questions or that you cannot be curious. You can, because curiosity or questioning does not mean that you're disrespecting someone. It just means that you're following a train of thought that's going inside your head. A train that's leading you to new places, and that is something we should celebrate, not something we should ignore or something we should banish. So first of all, you need to understand that curiosity is not a bad thing. Asking questions is not a bad thing. In fact, more than anything else, it makes you human. Because you're reconnecting with the person that you were when you were young. You're reconnecting with that spirit of finding things out, of becoming a detective, of understanding new things, and of trying to make sense of everything and all the new information that is coming at you. So first of all, the habit that I want you to build to start thinking differently is to embrace questioning. Make this a habit every day, okay? Every night before going to bed, ask yourself, what am I curious about? What's the one question I have in my mind? And it can be something big, like how does nuclear fusion work? Or it can even be something trivial like does ice cream taste the way it tastes? See, the quality of the questions doesn't matter. In fact, even the direction your curiosity takes doesn't matter. What matters is you ask the question and you get back into the habit of asking questions. I have been fortunate enough to go through life without losing that attitude. I've always been the curious child, and the reason I started making videos and the reason I was able to start my blog was because I was curious and I wanted to understand How does writing online work? And that one question led to a transformation, a domino effect that made my career what it is today. What if the next question you ask does the same thing for you? What if it becomes the turning point of your life? What if the questions that you're not used to asking are actually the key to the happiness and the joy and the wonders that you seek out in life? The thing is, you never know unless you ask the questions. So before you even get to the big ones, or before you even start thinking differently, learn to get comfortable with asking questions and build this daily habit. Ask one question and try to find an answer to it. And now that you're in this habit, you'll notice an interesting pattern will start to emerge. Everything that you read or everything that you consume or in the conversations that you have, new questions will start coming into your mind. You'll start making permutations and combinations, and you will think, okay, how can I approach this differently? What is a new angle that I can take here? And the bookshelf that you see behind me is a testament to that. So when I started this journey, I found out that, I'm really comfortable in reading books. But I didn't read books like everyone else. I didn't just read them to learn some new information or to read a good story or to just experiment with some ideas. I read books to find answers. I read them to understand the world and to figure out how things are happening. And you know what's something interesting that happened recently? I was reading one of the books from behind the shelf, and in that, around page number 300 or 350, somewhere like that, way into the book, I found the reference of a Harvard professor. Now, if I was reading it like any other book, I would have thought yes, okay, this is interesting. And then I would have moved on. But I didn't. I looked into what that professor did. I looked into their work, and I found out that the professor himself had written a book that was going to be very helpful for me in building my business. Just because I was curious, just because I asked the question, who's this professor and what does he do? I went on Google, I searched about him, I read a few things that he had written. Then I ordered that book, and I'm almost at the end of this new book that I had found, and it has been one of the best reads I've had this year. Now, if I had not asked that question, I never would have stumbled upon this book. It may have been years, decades, or even never. And that's the beauty of following your curiosity. Because a lot of times when we think about our lives, right, we try to plan it out. We try to think about how everything will work. And we can't know that. We don't know those answers because life is unpredictable. Curiosity helps you feel okay with that unpredictability, because when you're curious, when you ask questions, and when you let the train of thought lead you to new places, you will recognize that you don't actually have to figure things out on your own. If you just ask the right questions, the direction, the path, the way forward will emerge, one resource after another, one step after another, one action after another. And this is honestly a very big paradigm shift for many people. It was for me at least, because for the longest time, I was a big control freak. I wanted everything to be perfect. In any school project that I did, even if the font was misplaced a bit, right, I would freak out. But now that's not the case. That does not mean that I don't follow professional standards. I do. But I don't control everything to such an extent that the essence of it gets lost and that I'm not able to grow through it. And the reason we seek that control is because we are unsure. We don't know what will happen. But we have to be okay with the unsureness. We have to be okay with not knowing what will happen. Curiosity is the way we do that. So the two habits that I just talked to you about. Number one, asking questions every day. And number two, letting your natural curiosity build and letting those answers guide you to wherever you want to go next. Now, what these two habits will do is they lead you into the third stage of your life. And that will be the stage of constant learning. Now here, something really interesting happens. You grow as a person. Even if you've spent 10 years on the job, or even if you've been out of school for 20, you never stop learning when you're curious. And that matters because when you learn every day, when you grow every day, you give yourself a better shot at life. And it's such a simple concept, honestly, right? Because all our lives, what have we been taught? Learn, go to school, go to college, build your knowledge, and based on that knowledge, you'll be able to build a life that you want. But what nobody tells us is that the knowledge you get in the early years is not the only knowledge you need. You actually need to learn and grow and evolve throughout the years. And if we have a fixed mindset, if we are operating from the same old beliefs, then this actually becomes a lot difficult. Because what are we used to? We are used to spending entire days in learning, entire semesters in learning. But when we are working or when we are building our careers or when we have other responsibilities, learning can take a backseat. We might feel like we don't have enough time for it. But when you change the way you view learning and you see learning as an extension of your curiosity, something interesting happens. You start learning again because you realize that true learning doesn't happen in a classroom or in a hall or in a whole semester. True learning happens in the tiny gaps of time you find from your everyday life to explore your curiosity and to find answers to the questions that are burning inside your head. It's the moments you spend, the 50 minutes that you have on your commute from work that you spend listening to an audiobook, or the 30 minutes before bed you spend researching some articles on Wikipedia, or the time you spend on your weekends trying to read a book and understand a new concept. That is true learning. In fact, watching videos like this is true learning. So if you're liking this, I would highly recommend you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because a great way to follow your curiosity is to have someone who reminds you of it and helps you grow every single week. And this channel is just for that. And this is where I'll answer another one of the most burning questions I see people asking on the internet. How do I know which books to read? Because we associate books with learning, and that's for good reason. Books actually help us grow. But a lot of times, people think that they have to read certain books just because they're popular, or read books just because they're good or considered to be something that helps you. Well, my answer to that question is very simple. Read what interests you. Is it fiction? Go for it. If it's non-fiction, go for it. If it is something else, go for it. Or if it's any of the other genres that come under here, go for it. You don't have to limit yourself to a certain ideal of reading. All you want to do is ask yourself this one question. What am I curious about? What do I want to learn? And what are some best books on that? Then go and read those. It doesn't matter if they're not the best sellers. It doesn't matter if they're not books that have made the top headlines. If it is something that has enough knowledge for you, and if it fulfills your curiosity, then you read it. Popular books don't make you grow. Important books make you grow. And that's why the key to figuring out the books that are important to you is connecting all of these dots of curiosity we've just discussed and putting them into action in one plan. And that is how you actually get into the habit of thinking differently. You began with asking questions and getting comfortable with your curiosity again. Then you started exploring different avenues and you let your curiosity guide you to new places. And finally, you didn't just stay curious for the sake of it. You actually put that into action as well. You went deep into learning with books and resources that mattered to you and helped you grow. And this cycle is the only thing you need for growing throughout your life, for following things that make your heart grow, for understanding new ideas, for understanding new opportunities, and for growing financially, professionally, personally, relationship-wise, health-wise, and in every single aspect of your life. And that, my friends, is the key to growing. So I would suggest you take action on that right now by sharing this video with another friend of yours, with someone who would also like to be curious and a person who can grow from this as well, because together we can make the world a better place just like that. And if there's any question you have, you can also write that in the comment section. This is a great place to start your curiosity exercise as well. Drop your first question below. I'll be eager to read them and I'd be happy to answer the really interesting ones. With that, I'd like to say thank you for watching this video and I'll see you next week.